There's a new street fighter on your windowsill. The weapon is peace, the word is chill.
Hello there guys, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour. I'm going to do something that I haven't done on this show before. I am going to do a retro wave review. I've reviewed retro figures in the past, but now I'm going to do a whole wave. Why? Here's why. Because we just had announced the new retro carded Sandman, answering a lot of people's prayers. People who missed out on the bath said we desperately want another Sandman. People who complained that the bath was too big, they're wrong, wanted a normal sized Sandman, and we've got it. But it's one of those monkey's paw type wishes where Hasbro are like, okay, we'll give you what you want, but we're not gonna make it perfect for you. So for some bizarre reason, the face that's all messed up with the T1000 hole punched through has a bored looking expression, and the one with the normal head has more of a "rrr" look, and it's like, why is that? Did something get lost in translation? Why is the civilian head the angry fighting one, and the angry fighting head is the one with the plain expression? Don't make any sense, but there you go. At least we have a normal sized Sandman. Me personally, I'm probably going to skip him because I've got the bath. And that's what we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about the entire wave. So it's retro, let's do it. With the first figure from this wave I want to cover, possibly the best one, the Green Goblin. This guy set a standard for me when I saw him. I was like, oh, this is what Marvel Legends can be? This is gorgeous. First of all, take a look at the Goblin face, the expression, just the maniacal, huge, big grin, the evil eyes, and they've got so much color in these eyes as well. There's yellows and orange, and it all kind of melds together to make this wonderful, maniacal kind of look. And this, in the comics, is my favorite sort of Green Goblin attire, where it's the classic sort of Goblin look, but just tweaked just a little bit to make it a bit more stylized. He properly looks like a medieval kind of peasant with the lines and the stitching in the hood, making it look less like a Halloween bonnet and more like an orc or something from Lord of the Rings. It looks really cool. Then he's got all the scales on him from the Dread Knight body. That just works so perfect. The Goblin should be scaly, and that's what he has going on here. It looks terrific with the purse as well, the nice bit of gold paint on the satchel that brings out more details, and then he's got his pumpkin bomb as well, which has the green smoke coming from it and the great little evil Halloween pumpkin expression. This is the Goblin that I'm talking about. Looking at it, I realize what really separates the hood from the more retro one is the little sort of sideburn bits that come down either side of the head. I'm sure there's like some medieval name that you call them. I don't know what it is, but they look good, and that really differentiates him from the more retro style. Then you got the wonderfully turned up little booties and the glider. Now with the glider, I will say more could have been done here. The design is great. It looks exactly like it should do. It's not too small either, unlike the Hobgoblin one, which is so teeny tiny. This is a good chunky glider, but there's no detail to it. It's just one plain plastic piece. I assume the actual plastic itself is grey. So there's no paint or anything, it's just the grey plastic. And literally, when I say no paint, I mean no paint. No shading, no wash, no nothing. It looks like a piece of plastic, which is a bit disappointing. They could have done more with that. But I wouldn't take it down too far because the rest of the figure, with the gold on the belt buckle as well, is just absolutely great. I would have thought to myself, this would take a lot of topping for a Green Goblin, and then the retro wave came out and it was like, damn it Hasbro, you old dogs, you did it again. So I'm going to place Green Goblin over Nya, and let's see what else the wave has for us. We now have, taking it down, way down, we have Spider UK. This is a character figure design that I kind of hate. And I think I kind of hate it because it could have been better. There are so many easy ways where you could have improved this, but you didn't. And the question is, why? I mean, look, if I was an artist designing this Union Jack take on the Spider-Man design, like, it lends itself so easily. I love the way that they've incorporated the Union Jack into this design, but why do we have all this negative space around the chest? It's just begging. It's begging for a big spider emblem right in the middle to break up all that flat red webbing. But no, nothing. It's just plain, and it looks too plain. It looks like there should be more, because also there's nothing else going on the legs or the boots or the feet either. And it just feels like a missed opportunity. And I'm not knocking Hasbro for this one. Hasbro recreated the design from the comics perfectly. So my only problem is with whoever designed this in the comics, was they just left so much negative space around the legs and the feet. Like, this is a design that would have lent itself perfectly to the Ben Reilly style half boots. I love that design. I think it's just so unique. Well, there you go. It's unique to Ben Reilly. No one else has it, so there you go. But yeah, like maybe a spider design going down the side, or just some boots, something to make it a more interesting look. Speaking of interesting, or lack thereof, I think we only have the fisted hands, but you know what, off the top of my head, I don't fully recall. I might have some other hands in my fodder drawer, but from the top of my head, I don't recall there being other hands besides the fisted one. So this felt like a real basic peg warmer wave filler. This felt like a wave filler, because which body is this? Is this the Tombstone body or the Sunfire body? Either way, it's bigger than your Pizza Spider-Man. So that's kind of cool. It's nice to have a bigger, stockier looking Spider-Man. This would have looked good for the black costume, where he's supposed to be a bit bigger and stockier, but we'll get to that later. But this is a fine figure, but I can't imagine anyone outside of the hardcore Spider-Man comic collectors who would really want it. Otherwise people would be like, Spider UK? What's the deal with that? But the head also, I like the design of the mask, where the eyelets, I guess, the lenses are carved separately, so you got the nice ridge around there. That's kind of cool. And similar to Ben Reilly also, he has the webbed fingers but then the blue hand. So there are some things that I like, but just not enough to really make it any kind of an essential purchase. So he's fine, but he's very much a shelf filler. But one that is not a shelf filler and very essential was the other Spider-Man in the wave, black costume symbiote Spider-Man. Oh my god! This is a great figure. Well done. It's not too difficult to do as a design because it's very basic, just black with some white, but sometimes basic plain design is so satisfying to look at. You look at this guy, it's a miracle of what is it, like understatement is what I'm trying to say. There's another word for it. Minimalism, maybe. Just a plain white spider on a black background. There are so many times where artists would just draw nothing, just a black shadow, but then the white spider and the eyes, and instantly it's like, boom, that's Spider-Man, and that's so well done. So this is recreated perfectly. I love the pizza mold. Some might say it's too skinny, doesn't have any hips, whatever. I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, it's just great for Spidey. And of course, this figure came with the 3 sets of hands, the fists, the wall crawling, the wall crawling and the thwipping. Those work really, really well. So it gives you those wonderful posing options. And of course, the huge big eyes. I love that. Huge, great, big alien looking eyes. Excuse me while I just trash the place. I wonder if he's dropped his pumpkin bomb. Of course he has. I'm never going to find that. I'm going to pause it because I want to see where on earth that pumpkin bomb went. There we go. Green Goblin is back. The pumpkin bomb's returned. All is right with the world. And just to put a little bow on Symbiote Spider-Man, he's great. Is he the best figure of the wave? No, I wouldn't say that because, you know, we have the Green Goblin here who's fantastic and he doesn't have any other heads or anything. So he's kind of basic in that regard. But as a fantastic representation of the black costume Spider-Man, yeah, he's wonderful, and that's why they re-released him with the Kraven 2-pack. So that's, you know, your typical kind of Hasbro 2-pack marketing, you know, recycle a figure type marketing. Like, can I say marketing again? Marketing. But it was kind of forgivable in as much as this is just a great figure that I think a lot of people missed out on the first time around, because I think folks weren't particularly mad when they announced that 2-pack. They were like, nah, we'll take another black costume Spider-Man. And in fairness, this one is my Dark Avengers Spider-Man, and then I used the other black costume for my chronological display. So it all kind of works out. Right, Next figure. We have, one that needs an update. The Shocker. Now, this one is actually, like, he does need an update, but what we have here is still a lot of fun. This is the more modern Shocker though, and I think people want a retro Shocker. I know I would certainly happily go for a retro Shocker. This is the more modern Thunderbolt style Shocker, as is denoted by the little Thunderbolt on there. It kind of explains itself, doesn't it? But what we do have with the expression in particular, I love that they've gone for the sort of Deadpool style where you've got the slightly squinty eyes that don't make sense in the real world, but that doesn't matter because we're dealing with cartoon characters or comic book characters. So he has the one bigger eye, the one smaller one, which makes his face so much more, as I said, expressive. It makes sense. And then the actual crisscross lines of the quilted costume, they're very clean and very nicely done. So I've got a lot of time for this guy, especially looking at him now. Also, you can see that his gauntlets, his Shocker gauntlets, actually have some really nice detailing in there. They've got some wear and tear and some weathering, like they've really been through the wars, and I never even noticed that myself until doing this little review here. So that's actually really fun. I dig that. So we have the blast effects as well, or the sort of sonic kind of effects, which have been done numerous times for a billion different characters, but they do work really well for the Shocker. His powers are always shown in that kind of circular havoc kind of way. So this suits him in particular really, really well. There wasn't much else going for him. No other heads, no other hands. In fairness, even if he did have different shaped hands, I would still go for the fist blasting hands as well. So that makes sense. It's not like I would use any others. And then you can put him with his arm out straight, blasting away. It's a really fun figure. Basic. I mean, this is what you kind of call, I don't know, like a B tier figure. It's not like, oh my god, the Shocker's incredible. But what we do have here, he's really fun. So I'll put Shocker there. And all I will say is, as good as he is, we all would be quite happy maybe on the retro carded line to get ourselves a new Shocker, because also I know a lot of folks don't have him. He's quite sought after now, so I'm glad that I've got him. Alright, finally, and I say finally because there is Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel, in this wave as well, and I don't have her. I never got her. I got the Sandman Bath separately, and I just bought the characters that I wanted, and she wasn't one that I particularly wanted, so no Miss Marvel, although the figure does look good. But we do have the Jackal, and there is a bit of love-hate with this figure. Actually, no hate, but I want 90s Jackal, and this is 70s Jackal, but what a good 70s Jackal. This is a perfect representation of Miles Warren in his Jackal costume. There's a grey-haired, mustachioed old man under this mask, and you can kind of imagine that. That's one thing that was missing from this figure that would have been really fun, would have been if they had a changeable head, so you could put the Miles Warren head on here, because they have, you know, the classic reveal sort of panel where he pulls off the Jackal mask and it's him underneath, but he's still wearing the Jackal costume. I can picture that now, so to be able to recreate that would be a lot of fun. But we can't do that. It's a very basic figure as far as accessories go. This is it. But you take a look at the Jackal face here, and it's really well captured. I think they nailed this. I love the huge big ears, and also the little ridges inside the ear that make it look so much more organic, and the way that the pink fades down to the green fur inside the ear. Beautifully well done. Then you've got each individual, you know, tooth in his mouth with the sharp canines and the nice wash behind them. It works really, really well. It's fantastically captured, and you've even got the sense of fur all over him. It's a beautiful fur texture. This is a fair bit before they brought out the Beast character as well, so this is a great, you know, example of them doing fur on a figure and making it look good, especially that he's got the nice brown kind of shading on his chest that then goes out into the greener fur. He's got the big tufts on his forearms. The more I actually look at this guy, the more I think, yeah, this is really cool. I just want a 90s one. I know that the Clone Saga is much maligned, but a 90s Jackal in the trench coat with the more Joker-y kind of look to him. He was a Joker ripoff, we can all accept that. But he was a fun Joker ripoff. But then also you've got the feet here as well with the individually painted toenails. And that's something we don't even get with some baths, is painted toenails and fingernails. I'm looking at maybe you, Mr. Hyde. Does Mr. Hyde have, he doesn't have painted fingernails, I don't think. Either way, what I'm saying is a lot of work went into a figure that probably, you wouldn't have thought would need a lot of work. I mean, I'm obviously clamoring for a Jackal figure, but that's because I'm me. So most people, though, you didn't need to go as ham as you did with that, but you did, and I admire that. So guys, it's time now for the pièce de la résistance. I only know that word from watching Gomez Adams say it in the Addams Family. I don't know how it's properly pronounced, but that sounds about right. Folks, Sandman. Still, I dare say, the quintessential Sandman. This dude ain't getting beaten, alright? He's huge, and I know people say, oh, but that's too big for the Sandman, but the Sandman can be any size. We know. I'm not telling you an argument you don't already know. Yes, this is bigger than his normal human form, but as soon as Spider-Man and Sandman start fighting, he bigs himself up. So, considering that judging by these arms, he's in fight mode, it makes sense for him to be this size. And everything you get with this bath, and this is something that some modern baths could really do with upping their game. We get two different heads for a start. I will always use this beaten up looking head with the big crater in the face. He looks pissed. That's so cool. He looks furious. Really badass. Like, if I was Spider-Man and I saw this, I'd be thinking, oh boy, I'm in trouble now. And then this huge grabbing hand with the sand dripping off the hand and reaching out, almost like at the angle it's here, like it's being magnetized, drawn towards someone. So great. Then you got the fisted hand here ready to just smash into someone, but that's not all, because of course we've got two other hands as well. You got the big mallet hand, basically the rectangular cuboid bam, smashing hammer hand, and you've got the wonderful maced spike ball hand as well. Both of those look so great. The only problem with this figure is having too many options with which to pose him. Okay, let me put back on my more sort of complainy kind of hat, because I do have another hat. It's identical to this, but it's my complaining hat. He does have ball hips. And ball hips are very much a remnant of the past. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't ever think twice about ball joints, except that just our community as a whole is always like, ball hips bad. And because it's been pointed out, now it's all I can see is like, they are two big balls on his hips. Yeah, it doesn't look great. So that's something that the new Sandman doesn't have. I think it's the Luke Cage body, not such an issue. But I can look past that because everything else, this is the Absorbing Man Buck. And yeah, the hips and the feet don't allow for much kind of dynamic posing either. But that doesn't matter because the arms, oh my goodness. The great thing about the heavy arms is that they actually work like a pendulum, so you can balance him really well. So I'll often have him in wide stances, and all you do is just tilt the arms slightly. I'm lucky that the joints on this are quite solid, quite tight, so you can put the arms any way you need to balance him just the right way, and he'll stand beautifully. But yeah, this Sandman, absolutely incredible. I adore him. Still one of the best baths that Hasbro have ever done. So let's just put this wave in order, shall we? So, number one favorite figure of the wave definitely has to be the Sandman. Easy number one. This dude is just so cool, absolutely awesome looking. And you see, I just brought the arm down there and it stood him up perfectly. Second place goes to Green Goblin. No question. With the pumpkin bomb, the details, absolutely stunning. Then we have Black Costume Spider-Man. Not so much going for him in regards to a amazing figure that's been carefully choreographed and put together, but it's just so basic, but it's plain and pretty. Now then, we have the choice between Shocker and Jackal, and I love what's going on with the Jackal, but the Shocker has his blast effects. This is a really tough one, and honestly, I'm gonna go with the Jackal, because there's more going on with the fur and the teeth and the shading and the ears, whereas Shocker is more of a basic figure with the gauntlets and a few other things thrown on. So, but that's close. These guys are both very similar tier, you know? I can't place Miss Marvel. I don't know, maybe she was like the best figure of the wave. I never had her, can't judge. But then finally we have Spider UK at the back here, who is not a terrible figure. He just feels like a bit of a shelf warmer, bit of a peg filler, bit of a wave completer. So he's fine. He fills a gap in the Spider-Verse collection, but really it's not Hasbro's fault. They had a very basic design to work off of, although they could have maybe thrown in some extra hands. I don't think he has extra hands. That's what I'm saying. He might have extra hands. I might be being unfair to the figure. But still, it's not the most exciting. But the rest of these guys make for an excellent, excellent wave. I would say no filler. Even though I called Spider UK filler, he's not a terrible figure. And if you're collecting Spider-Verse, then he really deserves his place. And guys, that is my retro review of the Sandman Wave. Did you enjoy taking this little trip back in time? Looking around my shelves, I'm thinking, oh, I could do other wave reviews, but actually there are so many waves where I have the bath complete, but I am actually missing one character here, one character there. It's very difficult to do a full wave review because I sell so many figures, but this is a pretty good start. So yeah, if you enjoyed this retro wave review, let me know and I'll include more of them on the channel. If you thought it was terrible and you hated this and this was the worst 20 minutes ever, then also let me know because it all helps the channel feedback. And guys, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, then click the like, share and subscribe buttons. Join the 6-1 clicks. And if you want to talk more about action figures, you can join the Discord. Link in the description below. And if you really enjoyed what you're watching, whew, I'm getting out of breath. You can go over to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. Throw a few shekels my way. Also, I'm on Twitter at Toys Articulate. I think that's my Twitter. I'll have to double check that. I'm trying to tweet more. I'm trying to get more into the social media. And speaking of which, I'm also on Instagram, displaying_model_behavior. Whew, that's enough out of me, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.